Shalom. Allah start off by giving all praises, honor, and glory to Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahushua, Bahashem, Hawakakadash. Double honors to the apostles and elders of great millstone. Salutations to the whole fillet that's pushing this truth across the four corners of earth and all faith, truth, and sincerity. This I'm a back again, sitting. This one going to on this article. I'm just going to about about the UK. It's about cyber news. UK to relaunch digital ID scheme. King's speech confirms. King Charles. But I'm gonna read this article. It says the UK government will relaunch its controversial digital ID program as a voluntary scheme, according to King's speech delivered by King Charles III at the state opening of Parliament on Wednesday. Said my ministers will also proceed with the introduction of digital ID that will modernize how citizens interact with public service. Digital access to service bill, the king said, outlined the government's lawmaking agenda. The king's speech, a centuries old tradition, making the start of a new parliamentary session, is written by ministers and read by the monarch in the House of Lords. It typically confirms policies that are already in motion rather than introducing new proposals. Among the headline measures was confirmation that legislations will proceed on digital identity despite a recent government U-turn. Original pitched it as a tool to crack down on illegal working. The scheme will no longer be mandatory for right to work checks. Let's see. I'm gonna go to UK ID scheme now voluntary. King confirms. Under the new scheme, the government is positioning it as an optional tool for those without traditional identification, such as passports or driver license. The policy shift follows mounting public backlash, including a petition signed by 3 million people, alongside concerns over privacy, cybersecurity risk, and the potential for state overreaction. I'm not probably pronounce his name right. It's Slicky Carlo, something like that, right? His first name for some reason, Slicky or Slicky, something like that. Slicky Carlo, whatever. Director of a privacy campaign group, Big Brother Watch, argued that even an involuntary plan would lead to more governmental control of people's lives, and that the UK should drop it entirely. See now, all this is going into what I said the apostles and the elders and brother great millstone been teaching for years. The RFID chip, the Marco C hip, which is the mark of the beast. This is what it is. What digital ID, you would have to have, to where you don't need no license or this or that, whatever, proposing, right, without them really, saying it. Eventually it's gonna lead to that micro C hip, where you're gonna have to, put it in your right hand on your forehead, but you don't get the scriptures on that. But you're gonna have to have it, to buy and sell to function in this society, in this world, in this so-called white man East Sodomite's world, And it's coming, It's coming, man. I say the King Charles, put it out there, decree unrighteous decrees. Edomite devils. Unrighteous decrees. Like I say, the UK people, they not with it. You know what I'm saying? Let me see some more on this. If I'm gonna read this, access to public service we all pay for should never require a digital ID. This would inevitably be a intensive multi-billion pawn system no one wants. No one voted for it that has no real purpose. So, plans so far have indicated that the digital ID will be a cradle to grave system ripe for mass surveillance, and more government control over people's lives. She added. So yeah. Let me see. That's about it. For real, on this article. But yeah, it's just that's what it's going into, man. It's like I said, this is what's coming, man. The micro C hip, eventually, this is what it's gonna be to, you're gonna have to have in your right hand forehead to buy and sell, man. It's gonna, it's gonna be pushed on people, man, and you're gonna have people that's gonna resist it, man. And if you resist, you're gonna be, deemed as a word escaped me. I deem that's a person that is a terrorist or whatever they say. It's another word for it, but you're gonna be deemed as the enemy, or something like that. You don't want to comply, so they're gonna put you in a concentration camp, prison or whatever, and they'll try to get you to comply. If you don't, they're just gonna kill you off, which is gonna happen to those that don't want to take that Marco C hip, which is the mark of the beast. So I'm going to go to Revelation 13:15. And he had power to give life unto the image of the beast, that the image of the beast should both speak and cause that as many as would not worship the image of the beast should be killed. So I say the image, right? Image of the beast. I say that Marco C hip is what, I say, King Charles, he has this, agenda, right? I said the NWO agenda, right? These elites, King Charles, so forth, the elites, the bankers, they have this agenda, of, like I say, of having a digital ID currency, eventually there's gonna be a way of buying and selling. You gonna have to have that Marco C hip to buy and sell. So I'm gonna get this word image real quick, just the regular definition of it, right? It said an image is a visual representation of a person, object, or idea. So representation of a person, object, or idea. So that's what these Edomite so-called white people, red Edomite devils. They have the NW agenda plan. Of idea. And like I say, if you don't comply, to their idea, and bow down into taking that Marco C hip, which is the mark of the beast, they're gonna kill you, and that's what's coming. So I'm going to this verse, Revelation 13:16, and he caused all, both small and great, rich and poor, free and bond, to receive a mark in their right hand on their foreheads. So yeah, so this was gonna happen. It don't matter if you small, and you ain't, you just, just a regular person, whatever, or great, or famous, whatever, right? Well known, rich, poor, free or bond, free, you're gonna receive that mark, which is the mark of the beast, You got, this is what comes. Cause like I said, this system, this world is ran by these wicked Edomite devils, so-called white people, red people, these red devils, man. And once they put out that decree, either you're gonna comply, or like I say, you're gonna get put in, a concentration camp, prison camp, and that's what's coming, man. And those that say that the mark of the beast is not the RFID, the mark of C-Hip is not the mark of the beast. They finna be just right now terribly just mistaken, wrong, right? These false prophets and leaders, they gonna, y'all better, those that, listen to these other Israelite counts or whatever, or these pastors, whoever, you better listen to the men of the Lord, great millstone, to give you understanding of this, about the digital, idea, that's really what's really about, what's about to come with that, it's the mark of C-Hip, it's the mark of the beast, the mark of C-Hip. The mark of C-Hip is the mark of the beast. It's not no embark code or anything else they say. It's not the internet. It's not your cell phone. And whatever else they be saying out there. The mark of C-Hip is the mark of the beast. So when they push that, out there to be, the way of buying and selling, you're gonna have to take it. Which don't get that in that scripture. And then you'll have to take it right here on your forehead. It really don't matter where you put it, but this is what it's gonna be. But Revelation 13:17, and that no man might buy or sell, save he that had the mark or the name of the beast or the number of his name. So you ain't gonna be able to buy or sell without that mark on C-Hip, which is the mark of the beast. And you got to have it, man. To take it. That's what's coming. It's not too far. It's not too far off that it can happen. Like I said, this financial system right now, is on the verge of collapsing. And they purposely doing it anyway to collapse it so they could, push this, NWO agenda, these so-called white people Edomite doubles. This is their idea. They vain idea. That they want to control people. I read in the article, they want to control you and track you and know what you're doing 24/7. That, like I said, they want to be like the Most High. The Edomite doubles, King Charles and all the elites and whatever, man. Like I said, but it's not gonna it's like I said, that they new world order agenda is not gonna fully be accomplished, like they want to, because like I said, Lord Yahushua, he gonna make his return and interrupt that, and bring down these so-called white people eating my devils out of the power seat. But I'm go from there. Let's see. Revelation 13:18. Here's wisdom. Let him that hath understanding count the number of the beast, for it is the number of a man. His number is 603 So, it's got Kaka Stipma there. You go to this Kaka Stipma. Matter of fact, let me get it. I'll go to it. Back up. This yeah. Song play
Strong's G 5516. Chai, Ksai, Stigma. Chai, Ksai, Stigma.
So Kai Sai Stigma, so so I really don't want to give you much real on that. But yeah, like you say, you're gonna have to have that you're gonna have to have that chip, the Marco C-Hip, to buy and sell, and you're gonna have people that's gonna actually you're gonna have people gonna take it because they want to be comfortable and eat, it's gonna and they don't want to lose they don't want to lose their status, and so forth, whatever it may be. They don't want to lose the things of this world once that becomes mandatory to take that Marco C-Hip, which is the mark of the beast. Get some scriptures. Get another scripture, a couple more scriptures. I'm gonna close it out. I don't want to make this too long. Get this real quick. It's Isaiah 36:6. Lo, thou trust in the staff of this broken reed on Egypt, whereon if a man lean, it will go into his hand and pierce it. So is Pharaoh, king of Egypt, to all that trust him. So that's what I was saying. Like you're gonna have people just gonna be like whatever, put it in me, because this is what they are gonna trust. They're gonna trust the so-called white man, Esau, and my devils, that's in rulership, in their agenda, whatever, and they're gonna comply because it's gonna be the only way they can buy and sell. Into into function in their world, in this world, here in America, Bible great in the world, in the whole world, right? It's gonna it's gonna be pushed on, but I say you're gonna have those that gonna take it, man. And then like I said, they're gonna try to make it, seem so harmless, like, it's a cool thing to, have people like it's not that bad, it's it's the new way of, you don't have to use paper money to give money, to people in exchange or exchange money, by hand. You ain't gotta do that no more. You ain't gotta use no credit card or none of that. This is gonna be a way just just put your hand on the thing and it scans and you good to go. They're gonna make it seem like it's a help thing, a cool thing, and you're gonna have people that's gonna be like, oh, it's not that harmless, and take it. And then, but those that you're gonna have those that are gonna resist. But then, like I say, those resist gonna be like, you know what? I'm not gonna resist no more. I'm just gonna just apply because I gotta eat. I'm hungry or whatever. But those you're gonna have those that are gonna resist and just like, I'm not doing that. I'm not putting nothing foreign in my body. And complying to the tracking and all that. Tracking me and this and that. Because that Marco C-Hip, it has a cyanide in it. It has a cyanide in it. Well, it gets in your bloodstream, you're gonna die anyway. They might have where they deactivate if you doing something wrong or something they don't like you doing, they deactivate that chip, and that could release that cyanide in your bloodstream and kill you. So either way, you take it, whether you take it or not, you gonna if you don't comply to what they what they tell you to do, but you're gonna die anyway, because like I said, Lord Yahushua, those that take that Marco C-Hip, the Lord Yahushua gonna return the chariot so-called so-called UFO and laser beam zap those that took that Marco C-Hip, and those that now are part of that righteous number, those that ain't or the righteous number, but get that. So I'm gonna end it off with that. End off with this. I'm gonna go back to Revelations. I'm going to Revelation 14. So Revelation 14 and Revelation 14:9. And the third angel followed them, saying with a loud voice, if any man worship the beast in his image, and receive his mark in his forehead or in his hand. Next verse. Revelation 14:10. The saints shall drink of the wine of the wrath of the Most High, Yahweh, which is poured out without mixture into the cup of his indignation. And he shall be tormented with fire and brimstone in the presence of the holy angels, in the presence of the Lamb. So hey, like I say, Yahweh and the angels. Like I say, Lord shall return in the chariot so-called UFO with the angels. And those that take that the Marco C-Hip, which is the mark of the beast. Lord Yahushua gonna destroy you. Gonna destroy you with the laser beams. fire brimstone gonna be by way the laser beams of the chariots and ultimately the thermonuclear missiles. You know, that's gonna come raining down upon this place, America, Babylon the Great, and different other countries as well. You know, but not the whole earth is not gonna be destroyed. You know, and not every country is gonna get hit with a missile. But I'm going to the next verse. Revelation 14:11. And the smoke of that torment ascended forever and ever, and they have no rest day or night for who worship the beast in his image, and who also receive the mark of his name. So hey, you know, so hey, that's right there telling you, hey, the men of the Lord, apostles in the Ellsberg Brimstone, and right there, that scripture tells you, hey, don't take that. You take that Marco C here, Lord Yahushua gonna return the chariot, so-called your foe, with the angels, you're gonna be destroyed. You know, all I say, you know, it's all Lord Yahushua gonna have the mercy on the elect, because I said the Lord, it's all about the elect gonna be delivered anyway. The 144,000. Hopefully, I'm part of righteous number. But you know, if you're a part of the righteous number, you know, Lord Yahushua gonna have mercy and deliver. You know, those that kept the faith, and I said the hour of temptation comes. You know, once this Marco C hip is, you know, being made mandatory. You know, and it's not too far off. You know, I say this economic crash, this financial system right now that we're in can crash. It can happen either before the fall, right at the fall, in between. Like I say, it's always when a stock market crash, it happens between September and October. So we just gotta see, but it's not. It can happen, man. It can happen. It's not too far off. It can happen, man. You know what? Like I say, these Edomite devils, they are desperate to get this NWO agenda, you know, going what they, you know, trying to do with this, you know, to have people to take the Marco C hip, which is the mark of the beast, you know. But those that take that, yeah, you're gonna be destroyed by Lord Yahushua. You know, you're gonna die anyway. You know, it don't matter. You take it, whatever, you're gonna die anyway. But you know, you're gonna be destroyed. You know, so the ones that ain't gonna take it is gonna be, you know, those that truly believe in Lord Yahushua and put their faith in, just, you know, if you know you get thrown in a concentration camp, and you know, if that's just, you know, that's your lot to die, you know, or like I say, Lord Yahushua could deliver you out of that situation if you up there let number, you know. But if you gotta die, you know, for your faith in Lord Yahushua, and I take that Marco C hip, which is the mark of the beast, so be it, you know, because that's gonna come about, man. You know, it's gonna happen. So, I didn't want to make this too long, so hope this was edifying. So again, I'd like to give all praise and glory to Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahushua, Bahashem, Harakakadash, to the apostles, elders, to the Sisakim brothers, to the few Akwaf sisters that do listen and keep the faith, and Yahushua keep fighting with that. Say shalom.